All right, so you already know VHFs are really important. There's many different styles and kinds. So we're going to break down in this video what exactly do you need to get out on the water and what features might you like. Nowadays with modern radios, there's so many different options for a VHF. All right, so let's talk about the different types of radios. So I have a handheld here from Standard Horizon. It's one that I personally recommend. I'll link it to in the description. But handhelds are great even if you have a current fixed mount VHF radio on your boat. So this handheld, I have a first mate that likes to go paddleboarding. It's something I can actually just hand her. She can take it out on the water with her. Don't have to worry about it getting wet. It floats. If ever she gets into trouble, she can reach me on the radio. I can always ping this radio because it has that DCS feature. I can ping the radio and find out exactly where she's at any time from my radio, which is very important. We'll talk about that later when we talk about MMSI numbers. But this thing it's critical. Even if you have a fixed mount, I definitely recommend getting a portable radio that has its own power source. It saved me a couple times. So one of the only drawbacks to this is it does have limited range or limited power. So this is a 6-watt radio. These normally come between 1 and 6 watts. I think 6 is pretty much the max that I have found so far. But with 6 watts, you roughly, let's say three, maybe 4 miles, depending on your conditions. Again, a lot of it depends on the power of the radio and then the height of the antenna. Of course, this antenna is only 6-7 inches long, so you're very limited. So with a fixed mount radio, you're going to get up to 25 watts of power, and then you're also going to have a external antenna. So that's normally, for most of us, is going to be an 8-foot standard whip antenna that's going to be mounted on the top of the boat. So you definitely get a good benefit with a fixed mount VHF radio. You get a lot more range and a lot more power. So the other option is a remote station. The remote stations are great, and they're very similar to a fixed mount radio. They have that 25 watts of power. They're going to use that same external antenna. The downside is they are going to be connected to your boat's battery. So if you do have an electrical problem, you're going to be stuck with that. However, the one nice benefit about a remote station is you can put the remote anywhere you want. So the unit itself normally comes with a little box, maybe 6 or 8 inches by 6 or 8 inches square. That can go anywhere on your boat, and then you'll get a wire that you can run to your helm station. You can run downstairs to your cabin. You can run to your aft deck. You can run upstairs into the tower. You can run 2 or 3 depending on what type of radio that you get. But you can have that radio in multiple locations. So that might be an option that you want to look at. All right, so going back and talking about features now. So probably the most important one to everybody is going to be the GPS. So GPS is extremely important. Knowing your latitude and longitude at any point is very critical, and having that information on the radio itself and not having to search for it is probably by far one of the best features. Yes, you can connect your VHF radio through the NEMA 2000 connection, which is basically a network connection that the radio allows. So it's a wire that plugs in the back, and it'll go to your Simrad, Garmin, or Brave Marine type chart plotters, and it will pull your GPS location off of those. However, if you have an electrical problem or your issue is somewhere else, you actually have to connect that and for it to pull that information. So me personally, I like redundancy. I know my Simrads have their own GPS position, and I would like my ICOM radios or my Standard Horizon radios to have their own GPS location. So I personally like the location coming from many different sources. I don't like to rely on just one source. So all 3 of my VHF radios does have a GPS location. So also with that, which brings me to the next feature here, is this the little red button. If you get a DSC radio, which pretty much all modern radios are DSC compatible or DSC compliant, so they have that little red button. You walk through West Marine and you're going to start seeing the little red button on each one of these radios. That is the feature. It's kind of like a pager with an emergency feature. If that's probably might be the easiest way to explain it. So with the DSC radios, it allows you to use that emergency button. You push that red button, and a text message is sent out over VHF airways, and the text message is sent to emergency personnel along with everyone else within the range of your radio. So everyone gets that notification if you have connected correctly, or if you have it connected and your VHF radio has its own GPS, your GPS location will also be transmitted with that DSC notification. So that's why the GPS is extremely critical. So also with the DSC radios, I can give this radio to Kaylin, and she can go out paddleboarding a couple miles, and I can actually just pull up on my radio and ping her radio, because we have two different MMSI numbers. So I can know exactly where she's at any time, and I can call her directly instead of having to hail her on channel 16. I can go in and search for her MMSI number, which is pre-programmed into this radio, and then I can notify her that I want to talk, and then provide a channel that I want to talk on, and then we'll start communicating. So with that being said, so MMSI numbers are another very key feature. So they're free. If you're looking for an MMSI number and you're not navigating to foreign waters, so if you're not going to the Bahamas or other locations, you can get a free one here in the United States. BoatUS, I believe, BoatUS is one of the main ones. I think CITO also does it. I'll provide some links in the description, but you can go in and get a free MMSI number, which is basically, let's call it, it's like a phone number. So it's a phone number for your radio that identifies you. You go in and you're going to put in some information about the vessel, the length, the description. You'll put in your phone number, some contact information, so that when you're out on the water, and if you were to happen to press that, the Coast Guard's already going to know that, hey, you got a boat that's capable of carrying 12 people. You're 32 feet long. It's a white boat, center console, and then they'll have some emergency contact numbers also, and be able to call them and say, hey, did this get pushed accidentally? Are they actually out on a fishing trip right now? So it just aids the Coast Guard in being able to find you and find you quickly. All right, let's talk about AIS. So AIS, you have AIS transmit and then AIS receive. So AIS transmit is not as common, is not available on VHF radios, but AIS receive is. So you might see AIS receive on a box when you go into the store to look for something. So what AIS receive is, it's a tracking or a location for a vessel. So a lot of commercial vessels, if you're in a location, for example, down here in Fort Lauderdale, if you're in a location where you have a lot of commercial traffic or a lot of larger vessels, and we're talking probably over 40 feet, and a lot of sailboats also like to have AIS transmit, because it allows you to see on your chart plotter. Again, if you connect the radio to your chart plotter through the NEMA 2000, it allows you to see on your map where vessels are. I use this feature for when I cross over to the Bahamas. In the Gulf Stream itself, you'll see and you'll come across large tankers and container ships, and I'm able to plan ahead and know if I'm going to go in front of this ship or behind this ship, because I can click on that vessel and get their actual route and then also their speed. And if I needed to, I can contact them, but of course there's really no reason for me to contact them. But it displays, you know, kind of the direction they're going, and puts it on the map for you, so you can really see the traffic patterns. It's also used a lot on rivers, going around bends. You can really see around the bend if someone has an AIS transmitter on their vessel. You're able to see it, so it's really nice. It's a really nice feature. AIS is also something that's starting to be worked into a lot of emergency equipment. I know there's a lot of man overboard equipment right now that's out there that transmits on the AIS system. So if you have a VHF radio that does AIS receive, you can connect that into your chart plotter. You'll get those warnings and notifications on your chart plotter as you're out in the ocean, and you might be able to assist in a rescue of someone that you might have just drove right by previously. All right, so the last item on our list is this the hailer. We went over the DCS, we went over MMSI, was a GPS, AIS system. The one last thing you're going to see on a box is maybe a hailer. and it's really just a bullhorn. So you can see I've got a picture of it up here. I'll put another screen clip in here also. But a hailer is really just a bullhorn that attaches to your VHF radio, so you can use your VHF radio and your microphone as a bullhorn. It's very common used on commercial vessels. It's common also on law enforcement or any type of vessel that's going to be doing rescue. If you've ever been out in the water in rough seas and you're talking with somebody that's in the water, it's very difficult to get your point across or communicate with them, and vice versa. It's hard for you to hear them. So with a hailer, it actually works as a two-way PA system. So you can talk to them at a much louder rate, and then they can also talk back, and the hailer actually responds as a microphone, so it amplifies what they're saying. I actually use this a lot when we go paddleboarding or we're out in the water, or if I have divers, I might tell them all to bunch up, things like that. It can also, one of the other features of it is you can broadcast your VHF radio over the hailer or over the speaker PA system. So if you're out on the water, let's say you anchored, then you went to the beach, you might be expecting a call or someone to call you, you can actually monitor and still listen to channel 16 while you're on the beach. So it's a nice option to have. Is it required? Absolutely not. But it's one of those things, if you get more of a commercial style radio and you wanted to use all of the aspects it has to offer, that might be a good option for you. All right, so just a quick recap. Hopefully by now you know what type of radio you're looking for, whether it be handheld, fixed mount, or a remote type of station. I'm going to tell you right now, I highly recommend both the handheld and a fixed mount. They're both great options, and they really do have different features, so they're really good to have both of them. If you did get anything from this video, I'd definitely appreciate a like, comment, or subscribe. I'm trying to build this channel and be able to bring you more topics and more things, and definitely would like to hear from you as to what it is you would like to hear. But I know I do put a lot of work into it, so if you do give me a thumbs up or subscribe, that would be awesome. We'll see you guys on the water. Thanks. Bye.